Happy May the 4th, everyone, and while all of you are watching Star Wars movies like any normal person should, or even going a bit back and reading the comics, I myself am forcing myself to play these garbage games. But actually, these aren't as garbage as you may think. They're still horrible when they released, but over the years, they have definitely improved. That's it. That's the intro. Point is, I'm going to review both these games in one go, and I am having to force myself to suffer for you, so I expect a payment by the end of the week. Welcome back, motherfuckers, to WebWebster.
Can't let you do that, Tom.
The announcement of Battlefront 1 was surprising, but it also wasn't at the same time. You see, in 2013, EA gained the right to develop Star Wars games, so when the news came to the public, it was pretty obvious what their first move would be. In E3 2014, Battlefront 1 was announced, and the reaction was pretty obvious. There was a great handful of people who were very excited, and then there was a big smudge of people who were like, oh, EA is developing it. This one's gonna be trash. But actually, DICE was developing it. It was just EA had... Point is, people were both very mad and very happy. The majority of the Star Wars community was split. Some were obviously worried, and some were still hyped as ever. And soon, Battlefront released on November 17. And did people like it? Nope, everyone hated it. So when it comes to the gameplay, oh boy, okay, so the main complaint here is the lack of modes that are single-player based, but that's not to say there's no modes at all. The flagship of which being multiplayer, which, yeah, it's multiplayer. Let's just talk about those modes first and then jump into the single-player modes. There's Walker Assault, which is basically like a 20-20 fight between the Rebels and the Empire. The Rebels are trying to destroy two AT-ATs, and if you're under the Empire, you try to, like, prevent that. What else would you do? I probably liked Walker Assault more than any other mode in general because it never really got boring despite the very simple premise. Speaking of simple premises, we got Fighter Squadron, which is basically the same as Walker Assault, but instead of being on ground, you're pretty much on the air. Now the problem with this mode is that it's very repetitive and can get boring in a bit, and it's actually a very consistent problem throughout all the other modes. And now that I am bringing up this problem, I feel like the biggest offender here is the Supremacy Mode, which is pretty much the closest thing to 2005 Battlefront, where two teams try to take control of as many points as possible on the map. Now hearing this first, you might think, oh, that's extremely simple, what's the problem here? And the problem is that it takes 20 minutes to complete, and keep in mind, you have to complete this all in one sitting. Yeah. Go on YouTube and look up Supremacy, and all the videos are over 15 minutes. That's how bad it is. This is an online mode. I want to take a break every now and then. When I finished this for the first time, I was like, oh god, this took forever. I'm never going to play this mode again. And that is actually the same problem with most of the other modes. It takes way too long, and I'm like, alright, I don't want to play that anymore, considering how long it took. Here's the thing with the 2005 Battlefront games, however. The focus was always on single player, and online was kind of a new thing at the time. Now that online isn't a new thing, the balance has kind of shifted to online, but keep in mind people still want single player, which kind of make things for developers a lot more complicated, because the balance is always online and single player. DICE, in my opinion, did a really bad job of balancing this, and put the focus way too much on online and kind of just shrouded single player and just bullshittery, and now everything is about online, but the single player stuff is largely forgotten about, and I feel like DICE really screwed up there because that really ruins the game tremendously. And it doesn't help at all that most of the single player stuff, if there is any at all, is locked behind all the DLC packs, which I have to talk about now. Starting off with DLC Pack 1, we have the Outer Rim. You pretty much got most of the basic modes, but with an Outer Rim skin pack. Along with that, you got Greedo from A New Hope, and 9 Numb for Return of the Jedi. Lesser known characters, but hey, I enjoyed them. DLC Pack 2 was Bespin. Same as above, but with a Bespin spin, or basically a skin pack. You kind of see the consistency now. A couple new ships and a new mode. Dengar from Empire Strikes Back makes a return, and Lando from the same movie as well. I enjoyed Dengar, but I have no opinion on Lando. The DLC pack itself was only interesting because of the new mode they added, but even then that mode itself was kind of lacking and boring. DLC Pack 3 was the Deathstar, by far the best pack yet. There's one flagship mode here and it's Battle Station. Basically a mode consisting of 3 phases, and it's a recreation of A New Hope's ending of the Deathstar. And why is it so good, you may ask? Well, it's awesome to be flying in the air with an X-Wing in one phase, while running in the ground and blasting people in the other. Bossk and Chewbacca joined the cast, and they're both very overpowered when they launched, with abilities that quite literally boost your attack and health. But other than that, it was kind of boring, if I'm being honest. I know I just called this one the best one, but that's not really saying much considering that it was kind of overrated in my opinion. DLC Pack 4 was Rogue One. In conclusion, don't come back to this game anytime soon. It hasn't improved at all. If anything, I've just kind of wasted about an hour and 30 minutes of my time trying to look for online matches, even though there barely isn't any. Point is, Battlefront 1 has not aged very well. There's a couple modes I missed out on and didn't explain, but let's be honest, those modes don't even matter, and even then, they probably suck ass, because the only good modes are locked behind DLC, which I have to pay for. But even though all that crappiness is in its way, don't you just miss the days when everyone hated it? Now everyone barely remembers it. I remember when everyone hated it, and it was so fun looking at all the memes online about how terrible it is. Now I don't get to have that anymore, which kind of sucks. What I'm trying to say is Battlefront 1 left behind a pretty big legacy. A messy legacy, yes, but a legacy nonetheless. That rhymed. Alright, let's talk about Battlefront 2 now. The history behind Star Wars Battlefront 2 is somewhat similar to 1. It was kind of obvious due to the amount of money EA got from the first game that they were going to make a sequel to Battlefront 1, and due to 1's harsh reaction, fans were obviously worried as all heck about the game. But on May 10th, 2016, which, yes, it has been that long, EA announced Battlefront 2, and while fans scoff, they totally did it when EA not only confirmed a new story mode, but free DLC. It seemed like EA was taking steps in the right direction, like they were actually gonna make a good game. Like, is it possible? Is it actually gonna— Of course they fucking screwed it up. Okay, so the story actually isn't all that bad. The story of Battlefront 2 follows Stormtrooper Iden Versio and her Inferno Squad, which, yes, I can't find a more edgier name, during the events of Return of the Jedi. One day, the Inferno Squad is doing a simple mission on Endor, thinking about the Empire and how cool it is, and they witness the death of their Emperor and the explosion of the Death Star 2. Afterwards, Iden, the squad's leader, gets informed about Project Cinder, a secret plan the Emperor had been hiding under wraps just in case he would die. And well, yeah, you guessed it, he fucking died. Iden's sent to protect a Star Destroyer titled the Dauntless because it contains information vital to the success of Project Cinder. While this is all going down, another Inferno Squad member is sent to the planet Pelio to destroy one of the Emperor's old bases, and encounters Luke friggin' Skywalker while he's there. I think I'm not the only one to say this, but this entire segment here was phenomenal to me, mostly because of the writing. The mission itself was kind of boring. It's the writing that was so good and probably at its peak at this mission. Skywalker actually felt like Skywalker, and the interactions were just superb. Like, everyone was just so cool here. Everything after this, however, is— oh boy. 2 out of the 3 Inferno Squad members, Iden Versio and Del Meeko, soon switched to the Rebel Alliance after doing a mission that straight up killed millions. They kind of just converted because I guess Del met Luke and Iden did— she did something, and they just kind of leave the other dude to just die. You see what I mean? Everything after this is just kind of forgettable. And I think I'm going to stop there because the entire story is sort of unbearable after that point. Let's talk about the gameplay. Okay, so I'm actually going to give credit where credit is due. They improved single player a lot. For starters, local co-op is now improved with exclusive missions that sort of set up like a story. Like in one mission, one friend is Rey, and you can be Kylo Ren and so on. It's not really that interesting, but at least it's something. Other than that, there's a new arcade mode where you can go solo or with a friend and adjust the settings a bit, however you want, and go wild. Don't get too excited though, because you're kind of limited there, but it's still kinda cool. Also, thank God DLC maps are added to the arcade map selection once the DLC has released. And like I said, DLC is free. Now that we're talking about DLC though, I think it's better if I talk about the actual DLC. DLC Pack 1 was The Last Jedi, and where you get one new stage and Finn and Captain Phasma. Solid characters, but come on, really? One new stage? Not even Canto Bite or something? DLC Pack 2 was the solo Season 1, and it's actually a bit different considering it was split into two phases. The first one had a couple new costumes and like one new stage. Phase 2 was the big one because it centered around Solo Star Wars story. Duh, right? It was basically the same from Phase 1, but it had a couple new things. You get one new stage, a new ship, and a couple of new costumes for Han, Lando, and Chewbacca. If this was paid for, I'd riot, but whatever, it's free. As of today, we are at the Clone Wars season. We got 4 new heroes, plenty of new stages, and the Conquest mode, the biggest mode from 2005's Battlefront. Now, what's disappointing, however, is that if anything, this new Conquest mode is just a downgraded version of the old one. But whatever, it's whatever. If things couldn't get more disappointing, we got the Resurrection, a story continuation of the main campaign. Sounds exciting, right? Nope, it has like 4 missions and takes 20 minutes to beat. I'm not gonna bother retelling the story, but basically Aiden and her daughter go to some adventure during the sequel trilogy. So, yeah, not so exciting. Alright, now we can talk about it. The thing that ruined Battlefront 2 single-handedly. Say it with me now, microtransactions. Yeah, when Battlefront 2 came out, you would get a crate. It seemed harmless at first, but you get a few credits and these star cards, which you can apply with certain characters to boost their stats. Seems good on paper. Here's the thing, you can pay $20 and get like 1,000 crates. Then you get better star cards, and welcome to Unbalanced Nation. Yeah, players would pay the price just to be better than average Joe, making multiplayer unfun due to all the imbalanced smuck. Some star cards were straight up OP, some increased damage output and health, and when I say more, I mean most cards did, making players with these cards better than players who played the game organically. Thankfully, EA removed microtransactions and you had to get star cards organically by playing the game. But let's be honest, even with all of that, the damage has already been done, so it didn't really save the game at all, if we're being honest. Despite being so shitty, I think these games will forever be in the minds of Star Wars fans. No matter how you slice it, they have a legacy, and you can't really ignore that. Both of these games have legacies. Bad legacies, but legacies nonetheless. I already said that. I can't do the same rhyme. Alright, Battlefront 1 and 2 get a